Liat Palace.
Thank you. Hi, hello everyone. This is a privilege for me for being here.
We have a little problem with the microphone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to share with you today something that I've learned through the past 5 years, and I'm sure that it is going to be beneficial to you, something that you can take tomorrow to your organizations and try to work with. So I would like to start off with a small question. How many of the people here are developers? Can you raise your hands? Good, thank you. And how many people here are leading transformation? Okay, good, good. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a question. So, does anyone know what 34,000 may stand for? Usually when I ask it, no one knows. So I will ask another question. Does anyone know what is the Genome Project? Have you heard of it? Yeah, good. So actually, 10 years ago, there was a big project. Really, we tried to play God and understand exactly how the human is being made of and how can we replicate certain traits and maybe create another Einstein or another Mozart. So when we know exactly how humans are being made of, we can do that. Does anyone know what happened to the Genome Project? Well, we will talk about that. So actually, 34,000 is the number of genes that were mapped by this project. So they thought that the entire blueprint of human is made of those 34,000 genes that can actually create the human body, everything that goes around with it. And when we understand how everything is really conducted, how everything is worked, we can influence on that, actually playing God. So I ask you guys if you know what happened to this project, and what happened to the project is that it was known for years that the human body is made of 100,000 proteins, that we need 100,000 genes for creating those 100 proteins. So what have we discovered? We are missing 2/3 of the instructions. How come? How come? We have a blueprint, but this blueprint actually does not control what is being made. This is really, really odd. So I will tell you in a minute how it is connected to development and Agile and DevOps. So my name is Liat Palace, and I'm not a scientist. I'm leading the Agile and DevOps transformation in an organization called Amdocs. This is a big organization. If you have cell phones, if you are using media providers like Netflix, so probably you're using one of our services. What is important to understand about Amdocs is that Amdocs is a really veteran organization. It was founded almost 40 years ago. And if you will look on the average age of the population, for example, in Israel, they are 42 years old in average. They are not millennial, they are not young. Still, we have so many to learn all the time, and this is really a challenge. I grew up as a developer. I was a Scrum Master, product owner for many years, and I can tell you that having only technology in place will sure help you a lot, but you will hit some glass ceiling at some point. Because technology cannot replace human interaction, it cannot replace thinking together, talking together, and sometimes it is really convenient to the teams, to the developers, just to be super professional, looking on their own code, solving problems, and sometimes missing out the context, the entire system, what may happen, and also interacting with other colleagues. So my problem that I needed to solve was how can I take this DNA, organizational DNA, which is actually the culture of the organization, and how can I change it in a way that can help my organization perform better? And I'm going to share with you what we have done, what we have learned, and as I said, my purpose is for you to go tomorrow to the office and try to use some of this stuff. So, why changing culture is crucial? So, I don't need to pitch you about the world that is changing, things that are happening, companies that are like, we call it like in coma. They will lose the race. We saw it happening to Kodak, to Nokia, and to many other companies. Everything is changing rapidly, and this is a matter of existence. This is not something that is nice to have. This is not something that, let's try this new technology. No. We were immune in the past, and I'm talking about really big organizations, really veteran ones. We had all the resources, we had lots of money. Who could compete us? No one. We were really immune. But today, having everything open source, everything on the cloud, we are sometimes laughing and saying that few teenagers can sit in a basement and write a software that can actually compete ours with almost no funding. So the world is really, really changing. And what can you do when you have this big organization, lots of people, they want their work-life balance, they don't feel this kind of urgency to change, they feel really comfortable where they are, and you know that this is going to blow up in everyone's face. If we will not change, we will need to start and lay off people. We will need to reinvent ourselves, or we will have no place in the market. So this was my job, to take this organization and really make everyone understand that this is not the manager's problem, this is not my problem, but this is everyone's responsibility to go and do something so that we will have the abilities to compete in the ever-changing market. So one of the things that I learned in my organization is when you are going to a dead end, or when you cannot really find a good solution for the problem, you can look for answers maybe in other fields. And this is what I did. So at the beginning I said, okay, having this organizational DNA, you can take one person and put it in one team and he will act in a one way, and you can take the same person in another team and he will just behave differently. So why is that? This is the same person. How come it happens? And how can we influence on that? So I tried to look for answers in genetic engineering. I knew that culture is like a DNA, and there is some kind of a subtext or something that really triggers things to happen, and we cannot really see that always. But I wanted to know how to influence that. So I started to research about genetic engineering and to see, how can you manipulate genes? You know what I discovered? You can manipulate genes, but it doesn't scale. You can just cut off just a specific gene and replace it with something else, but it doesn't scale. So I continued to look around, and it was like very interesting to find out that there is a niche in genetic engineering that looked on the problem really from a different angle. It's called epic engineering, and yeah. Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you. And what they discovered is when you are trying to manipulate genes, there is another way to do that. And there is an experiment taking stem cells. You're just cloning the same cell 3 or 4 times and put it in different environments. And what will happen? One stem cell will become a bone cell, another will become a skin cell, another will become a muscle cell. How come it's the same exact DNA? Okay, so the environment matters a lot. It influences on the way that the DNA is being translated or interpreted in a way. This is like, and you're probably familiar with that, you have a person that is writing a detailed design, okay? It is written. You give it to 2 different developers. What do you get? Do you get the exact same software? No. How come? It's the same design. It's exactly the same with DNA. So it matters a lot how people translate the instruction that they get, okay? And it's true about detailed design, but it is also true about culture and about behavior. And we will go into that. So I would like to start and show you some example of what happens when you have a culture problem.
Whoa, that's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are 2 people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
No, well, there's not enough left to do, is there?
Hello? Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fix it in a second.
He said he could fix it. All right. All right. That's more like it. He says he can fix it.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, but think of it like if you have a problem with your infrastructure, some developers are not going to touch it, so they are stuck. It's not that they don't have the capabilities, but the culture does not allow them to do that. This phenomenon is called learned helplessness, and it's known psychologically for years. And I've seen this kind of behavior in my organization as well. So people thought maybe that they need to approach a manager in order to speak with some other team member in another project. They could not interact without a manager help at the beginning. So we need to observe and learn those kind of behaviors in order to treat them. So I would like to share with you some understanding that I have about how culture is being created, and going from there, we can understand how to treat it. So culture is first learned. So imagine yourself, this is your first day in a brand new company. They are welcoming you, they are onboarding you, and they are telling you, those are our mantras. In Amdocs, for example, the mantra is we deliver. It's rainy, it's sunny, it's day, night. We are committed and we deliver. So what is the subtext of we deliver? And I think that no one from the executive management really thought about it, but the subtext may be, let's say that I need to deliver, but currently I have a poor quality for my software, and maybe I didn't manage to test everything, but I have to deliver, and this is our DNA, and this is our culture, so I have no choice, and I will prefer delivery over quality. Okay, so we need to anticipate those kind of behaviors. Sometimes you're giving one message, but it can be translated to other stuff on the ground. Another example of how culture is being created is passed on. And when I joined Amdocs 14 years ago, I had a mentor that taught me about the product and how to work with the IDE and the technology and how to check in my code. And for 1 minute, this person had a pop-up in his computer from the Skype link, and someone asked him a question. And he told me, Liat, wait 1 minute, I will just answer this question, and then we will continue. And what I learned from that is that in this organization, helping others is more important than just finishing your current work. It was never told to me, but this is how I translated it, and I saw that this is a really common behavior. Other people did the same. So I understood that I'm expected to do the same, and this is also a way that, certain behavior can be replicated, and this is also culture. Okay, another thing that we need to look on very carefully is on the environment itself. So what messages the company give to the employees, and by the way, you can try and do this exercise on your own company. What kind of messages do you get from the company? For example, sometimes there are conflicts. Okay, let's say that even deliver on time, we deliver is very, very, very important, and quality is very, very, very important, and we have feedbacks. We have some process of giving employees feedback for the work. It's every 6 months. And their manager is evaluating their work. So in this feedback, what do the manager looks on? Or what does he feedback about? So the majority of managers that I knew, a few years ago, were mainly feedbacking about your availability on Saturday noon when there was a crash in production, and they looked for someone to fix the problem, and it was you that answered the phone and helped them fix it. They didn't look on the quality of work that you did. They didn't look on the commitment or on the delivery. So what kind of message do you get out of that? It is more important that I will answer phone and fix production issue on Saturday noon rather than having a high quality. And this is a problem. And usually, organizations just don't see it. This is really a hidden subtext. So I would like to help you to go and change your organization. And we need to remember something. So when we are talking about change or any change, we would not want to rock the ship. We are in an environment where we have commitments, we have commercial commitments, we cannot destroy delivery, we need to support it. So we need to be very careful, and I will give some tips about it. Okay, so our goal is not only to tell the employees what they need to do and what is the strategy, but also influence their environment. So how do we start? And there is a common anticipation for getting a recipe, like do A, B, C, and everything will go really smoothly. So I can tell you that I'm going to disappoint you. There is no recipe, because every organization is different. And even in every location of the same organization, you have slightly different culture. And you need to be very much aware of the nuances if you want to make any change. So first of all, you will need to do two things. You will need to really look for smells. And those kind of smells were like the examples that I gave before. You need to understand how things are being translated when they are going to the developers, when they are going to the mid-managers. And I will talk in a minute of how to do that. You need also to start from the end. And I'm hearing a lot of talks in general, and they're talking like, we need to do this and we need to do that. And we need to start with what is our goal, or what is the problem that we are trying to solve. It can help a lot when we want to focus, because if you will work on everything at once, it will be a problem. So we need to understand exactly what is the problem that we are trying to solve. If we have a problem with time to market, okay, let's focus on that. Maybe we have lots of problems, let's decide what we want to work on. But we always need to have this North Star that will show us and will help us also to have a common language. When we will start to look on the ground and understand what are the problems, either having roundtables, surveys, meeting people, groups, we will find lots of problems. Lots of problems. I can tell you, every person that I met to my problem list, I had at least 3 or 4 more problems that were added. And it was really a lot. So how can we really treat all of that? We need to remember what is our goal, okay? And we need to focus. And we need to have quick wins. Okay, this is a long journey, and if we will not find quick wins, small successes, it will be very hard to continue and go on in this journey. So we need to prioritize. How do we prioritize? I can recommend you to use value stream mapping, but look on the emotional side of the value stream. Look on how messages are going through. It will help you to see what items should be within more focus, what should be accelerated, and how to prioritize. We spoke about not rocking the ship. So don't introduce new processes, don't tell people forget everything that you know, and let's start do something really, really different. No, try to use those existing processes with minor changes. For example, these feedback conversations that we had, let's ask the manager to pay more attention also to the company goals or to the project goals, and not only to the personal interaction with the developer. It can help. And we are not changing the entire world for them. We are just changing a little bit the context of one particular process. So it can really be helpful. Another thing that is really important, you need to make people happy about the change. And even if you want to have a change within your own team, how can you have other people taking part of it? And how can you make people happy about something that you initiated? And maybe they don't want to do anything with that. So the magic is to show them how it helps them to solve their problems. And this really need to be connected. Okay, so if, for example, we have, I can give an example for one of the projects. One of my coaches joined a project which had a really bad vibes. There were 2 Scrum teams, and they were constantly fighting, and they had some kind of a competition, like who is doing best. And I told them, try to understand the root cause of this behavior, and they also did not want to collaborate at all. So how can we do that? So she understood that there was one veteran Scrum Master that was there in a project for years, and a new Scrum Master that got really exceptional responsibilities. So the more veteran ones got offended that he didn't get those responsibilities, and we really understood that this competition was caused by the manager of the project. So I'm not going to talk about how we solved the problem completely, but in order to get the buy-in of the Scrum Master, the more veteran one that everyone ignored, we told the Scrum Master, we are going to help you. We are going to help you to shine. We are going to have better processes for you, and you will have better argument. And on the same time, we got to the project manager and we told him, look, you're creating a competition. This is really not healthy, what you're doing. Okay, so everyone tried to optimize by doing it locally, and overall the project is going to the wrong direction. So let it go a little bit. Something that is important to remember is that we want sometimes all at once. And it is true for changing culture, and it is also true for technology. If you want to experiment something, you need to start small. Get some kind of confidence in what you're doing, and also you're minimizing the risks. By the way, this is also a tip of how can you have a buy-in of a senior manager that do not want to have a new technology or do not want to try something new. Tell them that you are doing a small pilot, okay? And they know about risks very, very well. So tell them that you are going to risk this amount of people and this amount of time, okay? Either it will succeed or you will learn something, and then it is much more easier to get their buy-in. Another small tip, and it is especially important for culture change, there are changes that are really hard to measure, especially when it goes to the higher management. They need to show that they did something or they are investing in something, and you cannot tell them, look, it's soft, people are now more happy, so yeah, we're good. Not good enough. You need to measure it, and the best way to measure culture or behavior would be by having a set of questions or some questionnaire, so a survey, sharing it with the people, doing it once when you are starting off, and asking about all the pain points and all the things that are so wrong for them, and then do it again. After few iterates, do it again. You will also understand if whatever you try to do created some kind of an influence on them. Okay, they to change, and also need to see what kind of impact it has on the overall goal. Like if our goal was to have faster time to market, did we really manage to do it faster or not? Another thing, and by the way, if you have coaches in your organization, so feel very free, feedback them, okay? In many cases, they are not asking for feedbacks, okay? So if we are doing retrospective within our team, and we are trying to understand what went wrong, what went well, what to keep, what to change, we need to do the same with the implementation. Okay, so we need to get feedback and understand what is working, what is not working, what's hard for us, and what works for us better. Okay, even if we're talking about implementation of change. And another thing which I see a lot is that, even in our own retrospective, sometimes we are capturing lots of points, but we're not doing much about them. So take those notes and make sure that you are using it in order to get better and in order to implement better is crucial. Also, the people will understand that you are listening, that you have an open door and you are there for them. And we talked about making people happy about the change. You listening to them will make them happy. I want to take you through 6 common mistakes, okay? Also, which I see lots and lots and lots and lots. And this is true for cultural change, but it is also true for any change, so you can take it with you. First is not explaining why, okay? So I can tell you that when we started the DevOps journey, you can have 1, 2, 4, 3, 100 people that are leading the change. It will never be enough. It will never be enough. In order to have a real change, you need each and every member of the organization to take part. And in order to do that, it should become their problem. Okay, so as I told you at the beginning, this is a matter of existence, and they need to know it. And they need to know it. And sometimes the general managers do not understand the gap of understanding. I went some morning, I got to the office, and I met one of the general managers. And he was pissed off. And he told me, I don't understand. Look on all of those people. They are going to the cafeteria, they're drinking coffee. How dare they? And I told him, why? He told me, I just got a phone call from a very angry customer. We have a crisis and they are drinking coffee. And I told him, do they know about that? They didn't, but he didn't realize that they didn't know about that, so he was really pissed off. So we need also to help, to overcome this communication gap. And talking about why we are doing the change and why it is important to us is crucial for engaging the people. When we started off the DevOps journey in Amdocs 5 years ago, we created an online university that everyone could consume learning. 50% of the learning were about why changing. You need to have the people, people need to feel that the earth is burning beneath their feet in order to change. It is not comfortable to change. You really need a very, very, very good reason for doing that. Okay, so talking about the why can give them the reason, and not just talking by it, but also acting by it. We talked a little bit about competition. And I would rather have gamification and not competition. Okay? I don't know if you're familiar with CI gamification, for example. So we wanted our teams to check in code more frequently. So we had kind of a dashboard checking, how many times they checked in but didn't break the build. And it creates some kind of a game. Everyone wants to check in more frequently. It was really, really great. And then we really insisted that the price should be really small. Because we didn't want people to kill each other just in order to be on that list. It's okay. You will be this week, next week, it doesn't matter. The goal is to have more check-ins, not to be the champion of check-ins. So Need to be careful about that, and if you have any competition, try to understand better how it is being interpreted on the ground. We talked a little bit about communication, and in big organization, we have lots of failures around communication. You know, the higher manager assume that the mid-managers understand them. The mid-manager assume that the developers and the Scrum team understand them. It is not. Also for feedbacking, just to have a feedback loop, not always you have this. So when you want to create any change, you need to open channels of communication. It is not just by saying, you know, my door is open, but I will never be available for you because I have so many other important things, but really allow them and give them instructions of how to approach management and how to feedback them. Maybe have roundtables, maybe have surveys, maybe, I don't know, having some slots in the calendar that are free for people to come up and say. We need to have an open door policy. We need to be transparent with each other. If someone is leading something that is not helpful for anyone else, he needs to know about that. And I can tell you that our managers today are managing organization blindly. They don't really know what is happening. They are getting, you know, the status from different people, and they are getting only different angles of what is really going on. They don't really have a good understanding. And the best way to understand what is going on is to have data-driven KPIs, but also speak to the people. So this is something that is important to have. Another common mistake is to have local optimization. Okay, so in one of the big projects, there was a really bad production. I can tell you, it was with one of the major telecompany in North America, and it was a disaster. And I met one of my colleagues. She was a developer at the time in one of the CRM systems. And I told her, oh, I heard that it was really a disaster production. And she told me, not my problem. We didn't have any problem in CRM, so we were good. So she was really focused on her team, or, you know, really local. But if any piece of the chain is not working, the entire chain is not working. So it doesn't matter if you are 100% okay with your part. Your part is just part of what the customer experience. So we need to look on success and failure from the customer point of view and not from our point of view. Who cares what we think? The customers are the ones that buying the products. They are the ones that decide if they want to continue involvement with us. So we need to speak the same language that they speak. Okay? And this is also very much related to our existence. Another thing that I see a lot is that organizations are telling their people, be innovative, try new things, and if you are going to fail, I'm going to kill you. So it doesn't really give lots of room for trying out things. It is also maybe related to the fact that we are maybe risking too much when we are trying something new. Okay, so remember to try and minimize the risk, and manager knows very well what is the cost of 2 people for 14 days trying new technology. Okay? But they don't know what is the cost of trying new technology in some random project. So it is also our responsibility to really limit the risks, and they understand it very well, and also ask them to be much more tolerant because we are trying something new. It may succeed, but it may fail, and we will learn something that will help us succeed. There are no other ways. Sometimes you need to pave your own way. You don't have all the answers in any textbook. You need to try out. And this is how really advanced organizations are working. And the last tip, and a very important one, is, are we there yet? Or when this journey is going to end? So my answer to that is that it is not going to end, ever. Sorry. Yeah, because, why not? Why not? Because the technology is changing, people are changing, processes are changing, competitors are changing, and if we will stay the same way that we are, we will left behind. So we need to react all the time. And the most important thing that we need to have in our organization is the ability to react. You know, and I saw projects that were state-of-the-art 2 years ago and stayed just the way they are, and today they are behind. So it is a never-ending. Okay, just take it into consideration. And this is why it is so important also to have those low-hanging fruits, because you need to have a good vibe all the time, and you need to have people really enthusiastic about the change, and it needs to last. So you need to show success every once in a while and get them on board and see what you can do for them. So how does 34,000 genes become 100,000 proteins? So actually, it's all due to the environment and the way that things are being interpreted. And this is the most important thing that we need to understand when we are talking about culture. It is not that you are doing A and the result is B. Okay, people may also get additional messages. Maybe they are translating the messages that they are getting in a way that was unexpected. And we need to understand this subtext. Okay, so I would like to encourage you to go tomorrow to the office and try to understand what is your organizational subtext. Look on people's behavior, look on the messages that they are getting, and try to understand how come. And maybe you will come up also with some ideas of how to change that. Any Q&As? Any questions?
Thank you very much, Liat. Wonderful. Thank you. And we have a few minutes for 34,000 questions, if you want.
Hello. If the top management is not willing to improve things, so I think it's not possible to. It will nothing will happen. We need top management to be willing changes.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is true what you are saying. But also remember the learned helplessness. Okay, sometimes we feel that we can't. Actually, I think that we can. And if we have the same vision and the same goal as the top management, maybe we can come up and suggest things, okay? Maybe together as a group, come up with something small, try to do something and get them interested in that. And this is how you can create some kind of reactive chain that they maybe will buy in, and then tomorrow they will say that this is their idea. And this is the best way how to convince others for making any change. And I saw it happen. So it doesn't matter where you are located in the organization. You can be a leader and you can influence, okay? Sometimes it takes a lot, but it's worth to try. And I think that management also very much appreciate people that are coming up with suggestions, that care, that wants to improve, okay? Yeah. Good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? I don't see. I'll wait a few seconds again. Maybe someone wants to ask a question. Otherwise, no questions. One. Yeah, there's another question coming. Yeah.
Yeah, if you do outsourcing and offshoring, you have two different cultures, so you may face something which is more complex in terms of adapting culture. You have two cultures.
Right. So you need to overlook, and by the way, this is very important to see if you are also using outsource, and you need to look on the overall picture, and you need to look on, from the eyes of the customer, how the chain is going, and what kind of culture you have. So I can say that for Amdocs, for example, and we are working with many telco companies, we can take AT&T, for example. So they are working in a certain way, and we are working in a certain way, and we are working together. Now, if you want to influence, you cannot influence only on one. You will hit some glass ceiling. You will need to influence also on the other organization. And if there is alignment related to the vision, and delighting the customer is more important than our organization belonging or our structure, so things will happen. You need a support from the higher management, and this is something that needs to be built. And maybe you will be even surprised to know that they know it and they want to have this change and they don't know how to do that. So I think that, this is a team effort. Everyone needs to be part of it. And it's worth a try, and it doesn't matter to which organization you belong. If you deliver together, you need to look on both.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think we are run out of time now. So I'm going to thank very much Liat. We actually found Liat. We couldn't find Maria, but Liat is here.
Oh.
So thank you very much. Really great.